Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our first webinar of 2025 of our IVS Unleashed series. Appreciate you joining us again. My name is Andy Simmons. I'm the VALT Education Specialist. Today, we will just be calling this webinar nice and simply, New Year, New Features. I should go ahead and share my screen now. All right. So in this webinar, we're going to be focusing on some of the larger new features of version 6 of Vault. So that actually covers version 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3. If you're unsure of what version you're on, if you think you're not sure if you're even on a version 6 or version 5, when you're logged into Vault, you can always click on the gear icon towards the lower left with settings. And then at the top of the screen, you'll see what version you're on. But you'll also figure out pretty quickly if you're on version 6 or not, based on some of the changes to the user interface. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at three quick things before we actually jump into the demo portion of our webinar today. So three kind of housekeeping items. The first, so again, I mentioned I'm going to be showing you 10 new features. So what is this going to cost you? What's the upgrade cost? Well, if you invest with Intelligent Video Solutions, we like to say that your software is evergreen. So you are entitled to this update. We're showing it because we like to give you the latest and greatest. But again, this is something that if you have an active support agreement with us, you get. So don't think that we're going to send you a quote for anything like this at all. The only exception, the only kind of caveat would be, I will talk about two different integrations that we have with Vault. And if you have accounts with those other two softwares, we will integrate them for free. But we don't resell those softwares. So as long as you have those accounts, again, then that will still fall in line with what I said, where this won't cost you a cent. So that's the upgrade cost. There isn't any. Next, so I said we're going to show 10 major features of the last three versions, most of them being 6.3, but there's lots that go into software updates. So if you want to see everything else, some of the smaller features, minor improvements, bug fixes, security patches, things of that nature, you can always take a look at the release notes of the software. So for that, you log into Vault, click on your profile in the lower left, click on Help, and then go to our wiki. So our customer wiki is where we always keep our release notes. So you have access to that right now if you have a login to Vault. You can see the release notes for all these different versions, every little thing that's changed. Now, third, and this one might not pertain too much to the people on the call, but it is important to note that when we make a change in software, and you're going to get this, sometimes your IT staff needs to be notified of some of those changes. So I do want to show a slide that would come back up if you were to update the software to 6.3. And again, most of this is going to relate to what your IT staff would want to know. Okay, what are the ingredients that go into this meal that we're feeding you? So from 2013 to 2023, as we were developing Vault, there were a decent amount of application dependencies, so applications that you needed in order for Vault to actually run. And each one of these had a configuration file associated to it. And in English, for those of us that aren't IT personnel, basically it just meant it was complicated to support and complicated to update. So we re-architected that for version 6. So you'll find that there aren't as many application dependencies anymore, and there are less configuration files. Again, kind of speak for your IT team. But basically this means, as you see here, we have a proven upgrade path, modern application framework, consistent refactor schedule. It means we'll be able to get you more of what you need and faster. And again, this is one of those slides that if and when you update, we will bring this back up for IT staff for them to be able to kind of just check a box. And again, like I said, make sure that they know the ingredients that are going into their meal. All right. So those are all of our housekeeping items before we jump into our demo. Lastly, there is a chat function, and some of you maybe already figured this out because she's kind of welcoming you here. But our wonderful sales enablement manager, Jeanette Lee, she's in the chat answering any questions because you're all muted. She'll do her best to actually answer those along the way. But if we don't get to all of your questions, we'll be sure to contact you after the webinar. All right, with that being said, let's get into some of our new features. And I grouped these into 5 sections, depending on kind of where they fit within the software, so that I can show the ones that make sense to kind of group together. And we're going to start out simply with what the new user interface looks like from version 5 to version 6. And then we'll also talk about what I think is probably the biggest change in actual functionality, which is instead of markers in 5, it's going to be called comments. All right, so let's take a look at those two. I'm actually going to start in version 5. So if you're using version 5 of the software, some of you maybe never had version 5 if you bought in the last year or two. But this is what version 5 looked like. Along the left-hand side, you had your home. So I'm looking at the home screen here. And then different checkboxes to turn off and on these various panels. Turn off the rooms, turn off upcoming schedules, or whatever it is that we had to actually do. Then within those panels, you could do things like start recording or change author, delete, whatever it might be. Also along the left, similar to 6, you had your various sections of Vault with the words, and this took up a decent amount of screen space, and that's going to come back. It's going to be a callback to that in a moment. And then lastly, in the upper right-hand corner, you had your profile settings, and this is where you could change your user settings, log out, get help, whatever it was that you had to do. So what this is going to look like now in version 6. First, you may notice just kind of the contrasting colors, which I really like. It's just kind of easier to see what you're looking at versus all gray when you're not in night mode, when you're in the day mode, I guess you'd call it. But also, you'll notice along the left-hand side for home, you no longer have those checkboxes to turn off these various panels because that was something that only related to the home screen. It made sense for us to move that to the home screen. So if you need to turn off rooms or recordings or what have you, you have the ability to just hit these buttons and toggle on and off right along the top. You'll also notice that those various panels, you don't see record and edit and things like that until you hover over it. So we try to make the screen as easy to look at as possible so you always know where you're trying to get to. So I can record from various rooms, or I can do things like edit, download, delete if I hover over my different recordings or schedules. Then again, along the left, the various sections of Vault, we move this navigation panel far to the left to save you screen space for what you actually want to do, which is review your videos. So rather than have the words here, we just have the words pop up as you hover over it. So again, trying to make this a little sleeker, easier to navigate, but maximize your screen space. And then lastly, the profile is no longer in the upper right because it didn't really fit with the consistency of navigation being along the left. The profile is now along the left as well. So somebody who's new to Vault will naturally be able to find this here. And this is where I can change my settings, find help, log out, and so forth. So the user interface, again, it's a little sleeker, a little more 21st century. But we found that, we know that with the software, with any software, even if there's a good change, if you're used to what you had before, it can be a little frustrating. So we understand that in the way that we developed it and tried to make this as intuitive as possible to find what you're looking for. So those are the big changes with the user interface. Along those same lines, another major change is going from markers in version 5 to what we're calling comments in version 6. So for the second one, I am going to jump back one more time to version 5. And I'm going to go to my review and open up a video so we can look at what it would mean if I wanted to mark this up. So let's see, I'm using clinical observation. And I'm just going to pause this. Nothing's taking place. This is just one of the rooms within our office that we use sometimes for examples. But if something was going on in here, there was a training or simulation, and we needed to mark this up, we needed to actually, make some comments on here. You would click on markers. And then you had a couple of options. You could add a new marker, select from a template, or click one of these kind of quick markers. Here, let me go to a spot here that doesn't have anything on it. And I'm just going to hit good. Okay. So we left a comment. Oh, popped over here. We left a comment that says good. You see a little color there for good and for not observed. And we could keep going along with those various comments. And it's nice, but it's a little kind of inconspicuous. And there's not much you can do with it after that. So we added on. And this is a little bit cliche to say, but we kind of turned this from markers in version 5 to kind of markers on steroids in version 6. So in 6, I'll go ahead and review a video. And we'll see what it looks like to actually comment on a video in this case, because oftentimes it's not just one person that's actually going to review something. It might be a classroom of people, a bunch of coworkers or colleagues or a boss or whomever needs to actually review this. So let's open up this respiratory care recording that we have in our review. And the first thing that pops up are all these comments that were already put in. And the first few things that I notice that my eyes catch when I look at this is these big markers. So it's just a little easier to actually see instead of just the coloration along the timeline. You see the full kind of pin drop on there. But also, you don't need to hover over it to read the comments. You can, but you see them along the left in more of kind of a social media style conversation that we have. So as people come in here and they leave their comments, this will keep running as a string, and I can reply to any of these. So if somebody, says, these are all just examples that I put in here. They put something that I have a comment on as well. I can hover over this and reply directly to it. And now I'll have replies to those various comments. It's more of a thread versus just individual markers along the way. And there's a lot more you can do with just comments. So we took into mind how else we comment on things. Well, if there's a lot of people reviewing this and I put a comment in there, it might not be directed at everybody. Maybe I literally just need to give an @ and direct the comment towards somebody. And then only the people that are actually directed in this comment will see this. So I can say, all right, I need Joe and Jacob. Please see me regarding this. And now this comment that I put in here, this is only going to be seen by these two gentlemen. I still have access to things like our templates. So if you're utilizing the marker templates, you haven't lost that feature. We didn't remove anything. We just added features to it. So I can still come in here and use my different templates. If you set up, when I leave a note about this type of skill, I need you to fill out these different things. That's fine. We still have that. But some of the other things that you can add in now, if you're anything like me, when you text, like half the time I text, I use voice to text at this point. I either tell Siri to, text something, or if I'm already in the text, I'll use the voice to text. And we added that ability in as well. So instead of just free text like we have here, I can leave audio notes. And then when I'm reviewing this, when it gets to that marker, it'll pause, you'll hear the audio note, and then the recording will continue. So however you need to kind of communicate with the different people that are involved either in the recording itself or the people that are doing the reviewing, you have that ability now. So it's very robust and very nice. All right. So those first two, our new user interface and comments. Remember, comments is just a new variation of markers. Okay. Next, we'll look at 3 new features that really relate to a single recording: timer, image field, and static text field. Now, timer, actually, I was thinking about this right before this. A better term that I should have put in here would be duration, meaning the same thing, of course, but that's what it's going to be labeled as when we get into the software itself. So timer, duration, how long should a recording last? And then image field and static text field, those will relate to our information template and our evaluation template. So let's take a look at the duration timer. All right, so some people in this call, they might not be familiar with the settings because maybe you come in here and you just do your recordings. And that's okay. It doesn't matter so much if you understand, how to navigate the settings, just that you know that this is something that's here. So for your entire group, let's say in this case, I have some researchers that use the software. And I'm going to scroll down in this group to my advanced settings. We now have a field that's just called duration. So duration is this great kind of middle ground between hitting start and hitting stop on a recording, and the scheduler, which goes off of actual like clock times, right? Like noon to 1 p.m. So duration, you'll start the recording, but then you let the system know, when do you want this recording to stop? So you don't have to stop it. And, I was trying to think of different reasons why you might use this, and each department might use it for a different reason. But maybe you have like a circuit, and that circuit, when people start it, like we don't know when they're going to start. You start when your team gets there, but you know that they don't get any more than an hour to do it. So once you start, we're going to cut this off, maybe give them a little buffer at 1 hour and 3 minutes. And the recording will automatically stop at 1 hour and 3 minutes. So it could be because of rules you have in place, or instead of that, it could be something like, hey, we start it and then we forget to stop it. And we end up having these insanely long recordings that we then have to cut. So let's just control for that ahead of time and say, all right, we're never in here for more than 4 hours. So let's just make sure that nothing goes longer than 4 hours. You can still stop the recording when you're done, but if you forget, the recording will stop after 4 hours for everybody that's within that group we set it up for. So duration timer for a group, you still start the recording either with a stop start button or within the software itself, or however you start your recordings. And then it cuts off at that point if nobody stops it. There's one other opportunity though to do this, because maybe this group, you need the duration timer, but not for everything they do. Maybe like only certain circuits or certain types of recordings. So we added this in one other spot. If you don't want it for the entire group, just for certain types of trainings or simulations or what have you, we also added it into the templates. So in the information templates, this first one over that you fill out before a recording starts, you can say, all right, when we have a certain scenario, I'm just going to randomly pick one. This one requires a duration timer. So again, I mentioned if you have a certain circuit that takes 1 hour, but maybe people will use it for other things because you're just going to review footage later on. Maybe you only want this duration timer to happen for certain scenarios. So I can say, all right, when we're doing our circuit, you get 1 hour, give a little buffer of 3 minutes. And so de-escalation scenario, this is going to cut off at 1 hour and 3 minutes, no matter what. Whether I stop it or I don't, at that time, it ends. So that's our duration timer. Again, I think it's a really nice middle ground between starting and stopping manually every time and having a start-stop based off of a schedule. So think through your different scenarios, think through your different groups. How might either applying this in an information template or to a group kind of help your system run a little bit more efficiently? So that's the timer or duration. And then while we're in templates, we added in 2 new things for our templates. So I'll stick in the information templates, but this could relate to our evaluation as well. So either before our recording or after our recording. When I am creating an information template, so I go to do a recording and I'm going to categorize it based off of all these different things. Right now we have, text and files, multi-select, drop down, things of that nature. But a request were just different types of fields. So if I hit the plus sign here and add a field, aside from text fields and drop downs, you'll now find image. So I can add an image either into my information template or into my evaluation template that may be beneficial for the person who's doing this. And it's hard to kind of give an example because every department could use this differently. But you can imagine something like maybe speech therapist needing a diagram of like ear, nose, throat, or, x-rays, or maybe you have a screenshot of something that would just be really helpful when someone's completing this type of, training. Or, when they're evaluating, you want an image of your rubric, whatever it is, you now have the option to do that. And when I go to actually, let's observe, I'll pick one of our internal therapy rooms. Hopefully nobody's in there working. I'm gonna hit record. I know for my speech therapy information template that I did add in a diagram, a swallowing diagram here. So if this is something that could be beneficial when somebody's actively either about to perform one of these sessions or in their evaluation later on, we can add that in here. You can add in as many as you need. I can't edit it. I can't do anything with it. It's just there for me to look at. And if I go back to my template, so I'm going to go back to settings, templates, information or evaluation, either case again. One other field that we added in, if I hit the plus button, add another field, and I'm sorry, I'm clicking around a lot, so I'll try to make sure that I am saying what I'm actually going to. Aside from just the image field, the other type of field that we also added in is static text. So this would be if I want to type something in so that when people utilize this template, that they can see this text. This would be great for like instructions. When you're evaluating somebody who's doing this, make sure you do A, B, C, and D. So whatever you have within your binder that's external to Vault, bring it on in, either again for the information or for the evaluation. So they won't be able to edit this. They won't be able to delete it. It's just gonna be text that's available. If I go back, I'm gonna go back to my observation of our empty therapy room. And if you caught it, you may have noticed that I had a static text field right above our diagram. So this text right here, this is information that cannot be edited when completing the template. It's just something that's there for me, however we see fit, so that it can help us with this session. So if you're not using the information or evaluation templates, we can absolutely help you get going with those. Just know that you now have some options to kind of lead the horse to water. All right. So that was our duration timer, our image field, and our static text field. So now let's take a look at, we do a lot in Vault, but we're not always in Vault. So how do we get notified of things that happen in Vault when we're not in there, right? So we want things to live in an ecosystem so that it's easy. You want that one-stop shop. But if you're not in the one-stop shop, how do you know about everything that took place? And that's through notifications or alerts. These two, email notifications and email alerts, have very similar names. One of them is a little more pressing than the other, hence the name alert versus notification. I'll show you the difference here. Now, you already had notifications and alerts in the system. The new thing is the emailing part. So if I go to our settings, you actually already had alerts here. Well, we'll start with the email alerts. If you look at the alerts within Vault, whether you've set up email alerts or not, if you just look at the alerts, you'll see things about cameras or different streaming devices if they go on or offline. So those are what the alerts are. It's letting you know that something you have set up in Vault isn't working the way you expect. It's offline. And generally, this is going to be for your IT personnel or whoever it is that actually works with your hardware. But I mean, how often is that person involved? Maybe they're not involved very often. And they want to know, they want to get hit on their phone. Like, let me know that that camera's offline before it gets to our end users who need to actually use it. And so if we want to do this, within this same settings, if I go up to general, you'll see email notifications now and email alerts, this bottom one right here. If I activate this, this says, okay, yes, we want alerts to be able to be emailed out when cameras or streaming devices go on or offline, but not everybody should get them. So then within your user profile and settings, you can say if you need those email alerts or not. So your IT staff, again, or whoever monitors kind of your cameras or streaming devices can say, send me those alerts. I need to know when the camera goes on or offline and then subsequently back online. So just reiterate this all. You already had access to alerts. They were within the system though. Now, if you activate email alerts through the general settings and then the user, you can get hit with those emails. So that's email alerts. Email notifications is kind of similar, just a little less pressing, right? There's nothing on or offline. You already had notifications within the system. Now you can also get hit with email notifications. So if I go into that general again, you saw that there was email notifications. I can activate it through here. Anybody who needs to get them can turn it on for themselves right here. But like, what are they? So email notifications are going to let you know if somebody shared a video with you or if somebody commented directing at you. So when I was looking at our comments earlier, and I directed a comment towards Joe and Jacob, they could get hit with an email notification letting you know, like, hey, there's a comment involved directed towards you. Or if I'm reviewing a video, I'm going to go into my review for a moment here and pull my respiratory care video back up. Going to edit this record. I can edit who this is actually, this one right here, who this is actually shared with. So if I recorded this in a certain group and I need other people to be able to see it, I can send them that video. Well, they need to know the video was shared with them. So this is also going to send them a notification. But if this is more the end users, they might already be in Vault, unlike the email alerts, which is like your IT staff. So we have notifications right here. And if the person reads the notification that pops up in Vault and they click on this so that it marks it as read, then they won't get hit with the email as well. If they already saw it, then the system won't send them an email. Oh, I forgot to mention one other nice feature. Actually, when I go in to set up the email notifications, there is an option for how often do you want to get hit with these. So if I'm commenting on a video and someone else is commenting on the same video and we're directing comments towards one another, should I get emailed with every single one of those? Well, probably not. So you can say, you know what, just send me them every hour. So if I get hit with 4 comments within the hour, I can just get 1 email after that hour. So you can also kind of control to make sure that you're not just getting crushed with emails if you're a heavy user of comments or you're really sharing a lot of videos with one another. So that's email alerts for things going on and offline, email notifications for comments directed towards a user or videos that are shared with that user. Number 4 here, the 4th group of new features. I didn't have a great title for this one, so I gave it a full sentence because it's only one thing here. We call it any number of evaluation templates per video. And actually, there's a little caveat there. It's not any number of evaluation templates. The limit is however many types of evaluation templates you have. You can now use that in every video. This will make more sense once we actually take a look. So any number of evaluation templates per video. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and review a video, pull up our respiratory care again. This. Now, this is our information template. It's what was filled in before this recording happened, or maybe along the way. But right next to it is where we can evaluate. Now, in the past, you didn't have this plus button here. You just had the option for which evaluation template are you going to use. So depending on what you're reviewing, you might be a system that has, PTs, OTs, speech, whatever, or you might have hospitals with different types of people that are using it, or a business school with multiple types of users. What are you evaluating? Well, I can pick my evaluation template and say, all right, I'm going to evaluate the PT that's in this video. I'm going to fill out the various questions that we put into that evaluation template. And when I'm done, I can just be done. Or if there's another person in this video doing something else, I can add a template here. So right now we only had the PT template, and that's all you could have done in the past. But if we add a template, you'll see that I now can select a second one. We have our PT student evaluation template here. And when I open up my dropdown, you won't see the physical therapy student evaluation in here anymore. So when I said there's a caveat to the name of it, this is what I'm talking about. You're limited to the number of types of evaluation templates you have. So any number is a little deceiving. I can now fill in my behavioral health student evaluation because there's 2 people in this recording. I'm going to evaluate both of them. Or maybe you have 2 different people coming into the software to do evaluations. It doesn't just have to be me in both cases. Somebody else who has access to this video and has access to these templates could also come in here and then fill out theirs. And then once they're done, this person's evaluation is complete. And we'll be able to see both evaluation templates. And if I need to, of course, I could add a third, a fourth, and what have you. And just like with the last time, you'll see now I'm down to 3 because I had 5 different types of evaluation templates. So for each recording, you now have that plus button, that orange square with a white plus button to add more evaluations to a single recording. You know what? Before I go back, I do think that's an important feature to use because what are we trying to do here when we have these recordings except for push the learning forward? So I always think that this is something that everybody could probably use a little more of, even if it doesn't go into the grade book. If it's just something that you want to take some notes, not just comments, but notes like, how did this person actually do? If we want to push that learning forward, I think it's important to reflect on that. And I'm hoping that this really kind of helps different departments do that. All right. We are now on. I'm cruising kind of fast here. Sometimes I speak a little quickly once the webinar starts, but I'm going to move on to our last portion, which is referring to two different integrations that we have. The first, transcription upload. You already actually had the ability to add transcription, add transcripts to your videos through AWS Transcribe. So if you have that account, you were already able to integrate that. If you didn't have that integration set up and you have an AWS Transcribe account, we will integrate the two for you if you'd like. That one's going to be more focusing on some of the improvements to it because I think it falls really well in line with other things that we added to the new user interface. And then we have the Zoom integration, a highly requested integration that I won't necessarily be able to show anything because we're not going to open up Zoom, but we'll be able to talk about how it functions and why it might be beneficial. So let's start out with transcription. I'm just going to take a quick drink of water here. All right, and I'm going to go to review. Let's assume that a recording already took place. And I'm going to go to my surgical tech gowning and gloving recording. As an audio note. Okay, so maybe you can't hear exactly what's going on. They have masks, it's gonna be hard to see, and they're kind of far away. It's gonna be hard to hear. We want to add a transcription to this. So if I click right here, this is the transcription button. I can hit the plus button if I need to, but this one's already been transcribed. And some of the improvements are with a video that's already been transcribed. So if I click on this, you'll see, all right, here's the transcription. Now, most of you don't do what I do for a regular basis, which is make a lot of videos. But when I make a video, I almost always have to review the transcription because, well, at this company, I say the word VALT a lot, and we spell VALT V-A-L-T. It's an acronym. But when I say VALT, the transcription comes up V-A-U-L-T. And I say gonna and wanna a lot. And those really aren't all that professional. So if someone's reading this, I need to fix VALT, I need to fix gonna, I need to fix wanna. And anything else that maybe it was just not picked up. In the past, if you wanted to make all those changes, you'd have to export this transcription to a TXT file, make those changes, and then re-upload it. So now you're gonna be really happy if you're already using this, where you can just hover over, edit, and remove the Each line of this can be edited line by line. So that's a really nice feature. It's gonna save you a lot of time. And again, when you're using a software, you'd love it to be a one-stop shop for you to just live in that ecosystem. And the point of an integration is you should only be able to use one software to do two things. And so in this case, you're able to do that. And maybe you don't know exactly where it is. You know, I say the word vault a lot in my recordings, and I need to correct the spelling of those for the transcription. The search button, search used to be over here where it just didn't really fit in. So we moved it right above the transcription. Minor change, but it's just going to save you a little time, and it's going to be more intuitive for new users, where you can type in, well, no one's going to say vault in this one, but I can say whatever it might be, find the word I'm looking for really quickly and make my edits. So the transcription changes, again, able to edit line by line right within Vault. And we moved the search to just a much more conveniently located spot for those of you that might need to make those changes or just find something. Maybe this is, this is a 4-minute recording, but maybe you have a 4-hour recording and you need to find exactly where it is. You don't want to click through the timeline. It just doesn't make that much sense to do. You need to find exactly where they said that word. So search the word, find that part, and then you'll see exactly the timestamp where they said that, and you can jump right to it. So those are some of our new improvements that were made with our transcription integration. The last thing we're going to talk about today is the the Zoom integration. So since 2020, there's been a lot more telehealth. There's been a lot more just usage of things like Zoom and Teams and GoToWebinar and things like that. And so we were asked a lot, like, do you have some sort of integration with Zoom? And now we do. So if you have a Zoom account for your organization, we can integrate that where your recorded Zoom meetings can push automatically into Vault. So why might you need this? Well, it's great that you have the recording, but you want to utilize all the tools of Vault, right? Edit, clip, redact, share, comment, all those things that you're doing in Vault anyways, or maybe you'll do after this webinar. You can now do with your recorded Zoom meetings, and you don't have to download and upload it the way that maybe you were before, right? So we have that direct connection between your Zoom account and Vault. One thing to note, if this is something that you want to do, you don't get to control which recorded Zoom meetings move into Vault. All of them will. So what we want to do is set up a specific Zoom account, maybe not your personal one that you're using for just internal meetings, one that you're using for things like telehealth or training, and set that account up to automatically push over. So it makes a lot of sense to have one telehealth account that all of your providers would actually use when you want to push that into Vault. If you have questions on setting that up, of course, we'll assist with it. But just know that we want to set up a certain Zoom user to push over into Vault. And so it might make the most sense to set up a Zoom account that you want. Okay, those are the ones that we know when we record that meeting, it's in Vault. And then you can come in here and change who the author is or mark it up or do whatever it is that you need to do. All right, so that's the transcription upload with the AWS, some of those new features that we added in or just improved functionality. And then the Zoom integration, where it takes all the recorded meetings from a certain Zoom user, pushes them automatically into Vault for you to use. Okay. So I'm not going to show these ones, but some other notable additional improvements that we've added in. The clip tool. If you use the clip tool to either cut out a certain part and use it later, or cut out a certain part to redact that, it's easier to use. You can get a little more granular with it. So if you go from 5 to 6 and you use the clip tool, you'll find that much easier to use. Excuse me. Secondly, real-time software talkback. If you have a control room or observation room or something, and you're actually communicating with people that are doing their simulations or trainings, there used to be a little bit of a delay, 1.5 seconds or so. And now in our most recent release, we've pretty much cut that out. So you're going to be pleasantly surprised with the real-time software talkback that we now have. Third, Beam improvements. If you use Beam or you're interested in using Beam, so our actual iOS or Android app where you can turn your phone or tablet into a Vault streaming device. You may have caught our last 2 webinars from November and December where we showed Beam, but there's lots of noticeable improvements. So if you were using that in the past, take a look at our Beam webinar that we put on that's currently on our wiki, and take a look at some of those improvements. And then just some general performance improvements. When you have these high resolution videos, you want to make sure that things are moving accordingly. You're not just sitting there and waiting for things to load all day. And there are some noticeable performance improvements to searching and playback that you'll notice now in our most recent version. And then lastly, if you'll come to 6.3 from 6.1 or 6.2, these last 3 things will be new. If you're on version 5, you actually already have these. They're things that went away and are now coming back by popular demand, which is night mode. For those of you that may be working in a darker environment, it's just easier on the eyes. 6.1 and 6.2 customers, when you update, will now have access to night mode again. Platform control, which is saying when a person can actually use Vault. So either a user or a group. Maybe you can only record in Vault on these days of the week during these times. So that's back within the settings. And then account expiration. So when do you want a user account to actually expire? And this makes a lot of sense for our schools that use Vault, because when this person's done, right? They're done on May 25th or whenever the semester ends. So if this person shouldn't have access to Vault after a certain date, and you can set that now, that's back in version 6.3. All right. So now what? If you'd like to get on version 6.3, if you're not on that just yet, or you want to just learn a little bit more about some of the other features, give us a call. You call your regional rep if you know who your regional rep is. If you're not sure, just give our general number a call and we'll redirect you to the person that you need to speak with. we would want to do just a brief readiness meeting. So it's great that you saw this and we're happy that you're here. We want to have just a quick call with you to make sure that you, your IT staff, anyone else involved understands what might be included or needed in order for you to actually update. So if you want to see more new features, videos on some of those last couple things I showed, or anything else, you can always go to our customer wiki. Right? So log into Vault, click on your profile, go to help, click on the wiki. And I have a short video, anywhere from 45 seconds to 2 minutes, on all the new features that were in version 6.3. So you have access to those as well. All right. I think I'm actually going to end on time today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. If there's any other questions, give our number a call. Otherwise, we'll talk to you next month. All right. Have a great day, everybody.